But when it comes to being a key, I can get in any door. And as a young person, I let them know that you are developing right now as the key. The way that you show up for people right now will determine the doors that you're able to walk into. You know, the way that I'm able to walk into these elementary schools, the way that I'm able to walk into these businesses, the way that I was able to walk into the White House twice.
Yeah.
You know, the way that I was able to walk up, you know, to the Pope at the Vatican. That's a door that's open because the person I've developed into.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability in fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle.
Welcome to the Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging you to redefine vulnerability as a strength. It's a strength that helps connects, that helps heal, that helps grow. And today I got an amazing guest, my man Herb, Flight Time Lang. What's up, man?
What's going on, Reggie, man? First of all, big thanks to you for, allowing me to share on your platform. Since we met last year, I definitely become a big fan of yours, following your work, and, congratulations on the success that's coming, the success that you've already had, and I know that there's more to come for sure.
Man, appreciate it. Just a little background. So Herb and I met at the TEDx Old Hickory. Herb was the MC for the event and did a phenomenal job sharing his personal stories, his message around kindness, which we're going to talk about today. And I'm repping some kindness, be kind to yourself. And also you got me. Like, there was a moment when you pulled out the package, and I think it was a package that you had sent to your grandmother.
Yeah.
And you just started. Can you just tell that story real quick? Because that, it hit me.
Yeah. So, for me, I was lucky enough to be invited there to be the MC. Amanda Banks and I connected it for TEDx Wilmington. She actually put me on that stage. But the way that the package happened was, my grandmother had been sick. She's in a nursing home. She was in a nursing home, and I had a book that I had written, and I had a couple of my T-shirts, Kindness is Free T-shirts, that I had mailed to the nursing home. And I kept sending messages and phone calls to the nursing home, my aunts and uncles, asking has my grandmother received, her package? And so what happened was, I sent the package to the wrong address, and it got sent back to my home in Florida. And so once I got to Florida, it was after my grandmother had passed away, and I hadn't even opened up that package. I didn't even remember what I wrote in the book. And so I just happened to be traveling with it, and I feel like it was a perfect moment for me to read it, open it up on that TEDx stage. And when I opened up that package on the stage, it was the first time that I had even looked at it, in 8 months. Man. And so it was pretty cool. It was pretty powerful to know that, I had a chance to see her before she passed away, but to be able to read that message to her on such a powerful, stage.
It was powerful. And so part of my story, my grandmother was the nurturer in my life. And she was eventually diagnosed with metastatic brain cancer. She was given 6 months to live. And so she's in and out of hospice care, nursing facilities, and things like that. And as you were just telling that story, I was bawling. I don't know if you saw me in the crowd, but I was bawling. I'm just like, man, you pulling out, you got a shirt, and you just had a story for everything that you put in there. And man, it broke me down in the beautiful way, because I could tell that she meant a lot to you, and that you were, as much as you travel and as much as you do, you were still showing up for her in those moments. And so that was beautiful, man. And I just wanted to applaud you for that.
Yeah, I think we share a lot of commonalities, with grandparents and kind of the way that we were raised. And I was lucky enough growing up in Brinkley, Arkansas. I had my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, and my grandmother, who I had sent that package to. And even my grandmother on my mother's side, but my grandmother on my father's side, which is the one I sent the package to. When I would have these difficult moments at home, with my mom being a young mom, having me at 17 and having 6 of us by the age of 25, which my mom is awesome. I'm her number one fan, and she's my number one fan to this day. But it was her, she was the person that I went to lean up on. She was my rock. something was going wrong, she was a person I could go and cry to. If something wasn't going well at home, I could go and stay with her for as long as I needed to, you know. And so I was lucky, you know.
Man.
No matter how difficult things may have been growing up, I was surrounded by love and wisdom.
Yeah.
And I think that really molded me into the person that I am today, being able to realize that bad times don't last forever. You know, there's going to be some sunny days, there's going to be some stormy days, there's going to be some wins, there's going to be some losses. But at the end of the day, you realize when you're losing, the win is right around the corner.
Yes, I love that. And you got to take a loss. That's a part of the success. Like that's the journey of success, is losing fast and learning how to lose and bounce back. And man, we got a lot of similarities. I didn't realize your mom was that young when she had you. My mom was young as well. My mom was 14 when she had me. And so that's why my grandparents became such a staple in my life. And but yeah, to have that presence is amazing. It's a blessing. Like it is such a blessing. But I want to hop into a segment first before we get deeper into it, called What Comes to Mind.
Okay.
So just the first thing you can think of. What comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
First thing that comes to mind is probably being willing to, as a man, be willing to cry, be willing to express emotions openly without shame.
Yes, I love it. A quick story. So I think I wrote this in my book, but my grandmother, when I was itty bitty, she would take me home, and I never wanted to go home, like back to my mom and my other grandmother house. And so she'd say, if you cry, I'll come pick you up. And so my response to that in the moment, even though I had just been with her the night before, was, I cried last night just so I could leave and be back with her. And that's just how tight our bond was. So, no, that's good. I love that. What do you do to center yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, maybe even depressed?
Well, for me, I mean, when I feel overwhelmed or depressed, I typically take a walk, meditate. And that's something that I really picked up during COVID times. You know, that was tough times for me, to be honest with you. I had just really started, you know, speaking. I was really focused, and then everything kind of shut down. And I went into meditation. I went into listening to a lot of motivational speakers from Martin Luther King to Eric Thomas, all kinds of people, but really walking and making sure that I was, you know, physically fit. And so even now, when I feel like I'm in a state of depression, I try to make sure, because it still happens from time to time, I try to make sure that I get out and walk, and I try to reflect also. I try to reflect on, you know, why am I going through this, and what do I get to learn from it, you know? And one of the things that I promised myself this year was to be more vulnerable, you know, was to share. Yeah, actually, absolutely, to be able to, you know, be willing to share more than just the good things that have happened in my life and that happen on the daily, because every day is not a perfect day. Every day is not the best day, but I'm always grateful to be alive each and every day. But every day is a learning experience. Even when the bad things happen to me now, what I've learned to do is say, you know, not why is this happening to me, but what do I get to learn from it? And how do I get to share this with other people? Yes. You know, because people that look at someone like myself, former Globetrotter, 18 years, former athlete, and still they see the life that I live now, and they don't realize that I have struggles just about every single day. I have things that I'm dealing with. You know, I have expectations for myself that may seem, you know, unreal at times, but I realize they are real because I've accomplished so much already, and I can't give up. Yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That you have accomplished a lot, and I cannot wait to jump into all that. But like the human nature, like you're human. Like that's what it is. Like to show vulnerability is to show our humanness. Like I can. That was something that like really started me on this journey of self-discovery, self-love, and healing, was knowing that the resume and the social media, like that was all filtered. It was always filtered, and it could be presented in the best light. But when I started to share the parts that were not so great, but those parts made me human, that's when I started to connect deeper with people. Like I found out one of my buddies, I had known him for probably over 10 years. He's like, yeah, when my dad passed. And I was like, wait. When did your dad pass? He's like, my dad's been dead since I was like this, you know, a kid, I think. And I'm like, how did I never know this? Like, and we're close. Right. And it's just like, because we just weren't vulnerable with each other. We didn't know that depth to each other's stories. And me sharing my story allowed other people to share theirs.
Open up.
And so, yeah, it's been beautiful. So I love that, man. Last, what is one of your favorite childhood memories?
One of my favorite childhood memories. Okay, so this is a good question too. So when I think I was 4 years old, was one of my first memories. And this is my grandmother on my mother's side. According to my aunts and uncles, I was her favorite. I was like her golden child. But I had a lot of relatives that had moved up north during the Great Migration, like the late 60s and early 50s or whatever. And I had a couple of aunts that were in New York. I just remember being on the bus with my grandmother, traveling on the Greyhound bus from Brinkley, Arkansas to New York City.
Whoa.
And Brinkley, Arkansas, we got like 2 stoplights. And I just remember it felt like it took us a week to get up there. It was like 2 days on the Greyhound bus. And I just remember, parks and playgrounds and, big buildings. And, I talk to people now. I said, little did I know that my grandmother was setting me on the path. I later on played for the Harlem Globetrotters, a team that's kind of known to be from New York, but not really from New York. But that's one of my first and best childhood memories. I mean, I'll never forget that. And I spent many years traveling on the bus after that.
Man, hey, that's tight. I like that. So you starting off on a bus, you've traveled the entire world. You've, like, as a Harlem Globetrotter, flight time. This is her flight time lane, y'all. Like, tell me about what that experience was like and how you got to be, go from college, and you went to college in Louisiana, to then being in Harlem playing for the Globetrotters. How does that happen?
Well, for me, I mean, I had a pretty good career, and a lot of it goes back to the kindness. In my book, Projects, Popes, and Presidents, I kind of tell the story about, I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I had a lot of people that believed in me. And I paid attention, And so I ended up getting a basketball scholarship to Centenary College. School had never seen me play basketball. It was the words of a young man from my hometown who played there, and his father. He was 2 years ahead of me, and he told him I was being under-recruited. So I ended up going to Centenary, had a great career. My junior year, I was led the conference in scoring, first team all-conference. Going into my junior year, I'm preseason player of the year, top NBA prospect.
Wow.
Got a new coach that year. So things kind of changed up. My scoring average went from 19 to 16. I was second team all-conference, but I learned a lot that year. That coach, he was probably more fundamentals, more, how to run an offense, a little bit more professional. No disrespect to my other coaches, but it was a little bit more structured. And he created an opportunity for me to participate in the college dunk contest at the Final Four in '98 in San Antonio. And for me, I was super excited. People knew me for my leaping ability. I'm representing the smallest Division I school in the country. People knew my school from Robert Parrish going there. But I went down there and competed against Ruben Patterson, Felipe Lopez, all these well-known guys. And Dick Vitale was calling my name, Jay Bilas, and I ended up winning that dunk contest. So that kind of set the stage for me to have the opportunity to try out for the Globetrotters. But what happened in between that time, I didn't have any NBA trials. They were having lockout during that year.
Okay.
So I decided to go back.
What year was that?
This was '98.
Okay.
So I decided to go back to school and finish up my degree. So I finished up my degree. I student taught at Southwood High School, one of the biggest high schools in Shreveport, Louisiana. And in between that time, I worked as a personal trainer after I graduated. And in between that time is when my friend went to a Globetrotter game. He came home after the game with this program with an 800 number in and was like, man, you could be a Globetrotter. And for me, I couldn't even spin the basketball on my fingers. So I'm like, be a Globetrotter, get that program out of my face. But I just remember coming home from work, because we were roommates at this time, coming home from work one day, and I'm making $7 an hour. It was one of those frustrating, tough days. And I'm still realizing, I'm 22, 21 years old. I still have a lot to offer the game of basketball. And I'm like, hey, Alan, where that program at? And so I ended up calling them, probably was March of '99. And they said, all right, send us some video. I sent a VCR tape in, of me playing basketball and, of course, the dunk contest. And they said, we'll put you down for our training camp coming up in August. This was like 5 months away. I forgot all about that training camp. I remember them calling me on a Monday saying, hey, you going to be ready for camp on Wednesday? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'm ready. Right. And I often tell the story. I told my boss at the time that she could go ahead and hire someone else for my position because I was going to make the team. I was
belief.
confident. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the belief.
ended up making the team. And that's kind of how it happened. Again, and you can see there was 2 instances where people took a stand for me and believed in me. And I don't take those opportunities lightly. When somebody put their neck out on the line for me, I try to make sure I go above and beyond and excel,
Yeah.
So
And 2 things that you point out is that, one, the belief that other people had in you and taking advantage of those opportunities. I think also the belief that you had in yourself to be that confident to say, "Nah, I'm going up here and I'm not coming back."
all I need is a chance.
Yeah. It's gonna be 18 years later before I even think about stepping off this court. But then the other thing also is learning from those mistakes or failures or pivots in the world. Like, that's gonna happen. Like, you're gonna have a plan. You're gonna go out and you had dreams of going to the NBA.
Yeah.
Things changed, and that didn't happen for you, but that didn't stop you from playing professional basketball.
Right.
And so, like learning from mistakes and then capitalizing on opportunities, I think is like such a great lesson for people to learn. So, you tell me about the Globetrotters. Like, I've been to one Globetrotter game in my life, and you probably were playing at the time. I was in high school, so maybe 2000, call it 7.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. It was entertaining, and it was just unreal human ability. Like, unreal human ability. Like, what was that experience like, traveling the world? Like, what was that like?
Well, for me, it certainly opened up my mind. I mean, I grew up in Arkansas, spent 4 years of college in Louisiana, and, watching things on television, you believe everything that you see on television. But the first time that I traveled abroad, I remember my first tour, we went to Belgium, we went to France, we went to Germany, and there was a lot of English, American, people speaking English. And I just remember watching some of the reporting of like news, and I'm thinking, that's not what they're reporting in the United States. That's a little bit different. So it allowed me to broaden my horizons and start looking at things a little bit different, start doing a little bit more research. It allowed me to form my own opinions, not to say that, my parents or grandparents and things that they believe in weren't necessarily correct, but it allowed me to form my own opinions and realize that, there's people that are happy around the world, because I thought, man, this war is going on all over the world and nobody's happy except the people in America.
Yeah.
But when I began to travel, I realized that there's people living life and happy where they are. But it really just, it set the tone for my life. It made me realize that there's kind people all over the world. The same kindness that those people showed me, and believing in me going to school, believing in me becoming a Globetrotter. I traveled to 88 countries around the world. You know how many bad things could have happened to me?
Yeah.
Nightclubs, bars, hanging out with females. Anything bad could have happened to me, but there's genuinely good people around the world. And I just feel like, to be honest with you, there's a small percentage of people, who are controlling everything. But for the most part, we all just want happiness. We want our families to be, well taken care of, and we want prosperity.
True.
We don't want a lot of the drama that we see on television or the false news that's being reported or the one-sidedness, that's being shared. And for me, it's almost kind of like religion. When people come and talk to me about religion, I ask them why. Why do you believe what you believe? Is it because you were raised that way, or is it because you actually did the research?
Yeah.
When I look at, not to get really into politics, but when I look at all these news stations, which I decided that I'm not just going to watch one, I'm like, how are you so one-sided?
Yeah.
You cannot be that one-sided.
Like, it is polar opposites.
Right.
It's not even like, okay, we kind of agree on these 4 things, but these other 7, no, it's like, nope.
You can't.
If you like that, I don't.
It's impossible. And I'm the kind of person that I'm for everybody.
Yeah.
I can't sell my soul to just be on television and just be one.
Yeah.
You cannot believe. It's
That's
unbelievable.
not the world. That's not reality.
And so for me, that's what the world taught me. The world taught me that I get to form my own opinions. You can't be that one-sided, but pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention. Like, kindness is free.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Like, traveling out, like, it's a lot of self-discovery when you travel. Like, you learn about yourself. Like, what you said, like, you're hearing different news reports. Like, and I think that's really important for somebody who grows up and it's like, America is at the top and it's the best and it is great. And you hear that and you're like, I believe that, right? You grow up and you believe that. And then you go to France and they're saying, as soon as you get on after airplane, it's like, France, best country in the world. And you're hearing it and it's like, Oh, they said that too. And then Belgium, they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Every country is saying that. And if that's the only exposure that you have, it's like, yeah, I'm going to think that. But then you get out and you get exposed to what is good and where do I feel more peaceful and who are the nicer people. Like, then you get to see, like, it's different than what you may assume growing up.
And so even, you know, being with the Globetrotters, we were told, you know, when you go to these countries, don't talk this, don't talk, you know, politics, don't talk, you know, and we didn't.
Yeah.
But for me to have these experiences and, you know, after the game, I'm standing around the court signing autographs with people that can't even speak the same language as me, and they're just wanting to touch on me and love on me and, you know, take pictures with me. And I'm like, these are great human beings, and I just brought these people joy.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what I may have thought, you know, these people were like based on, you know, the things that I studied maybe in history or the things that I saw on television here in the United States. These are, you know, people are great humans, and there is a way to communicate with people. And it's through kindness, through love, through entertainment, be demonstrative, and just show love and care, show compassion.
Was that a mindset that you had while you were playing, or is that something that in retrospect, looking back, you developed?
I think that it developed for me. Again, my grandmother on my mother's side, who took me to New York, she was really into the church, and so we used to go to like revival services and tent services in like Mississippi and Texas and Illinois, and just to see the hope that people, you know, wanted. And for me, being able to see people wanting to be happy, it was something that I understood at a young age. And so being able to be a Globetrotter, it's like, man, I get to make people happy every single day.
Yeah.
I get to win every single day, and I get to make people happy.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, it's just a beautiful experience. I mean, anybody that's had that opportunity, we always say, you know, once a Globetrotter, always a Globetrotter. We have a unique perspective. I mean, we go to cities that you can't even imagine. Like, even in the United States, we go and play in small junior colleges and high schools. Mean, in Spain, we play in bull arenas outside. Same thing in Mexico. And I found, you know, when you travel to places like this, India, people with the least amount of, you know, things, so to speak, or access to some of the most grateful people in the world. They will give you the shirts, you know, off their back. And it's something that I definitely realized the more that I began to travel. You know, those first 3 to 5 years, I'm definitely just having a good time. And, you know, those next 5 to 10, I'm really starting to take things in. Those, you know, next 10 to 15, I'm really starting to realize, like, man, I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to do this. Let me really be able to reflect and cherish these moments that I have. And then, you know, the last couple of years that I played, I was player coach. At this point, I'm like, I'm an old man. I'm out on tour. I'm on top of the, you know, buses trying to see all these historical sites, Notre Dame. I mean, I've been to France 10 times, and I haven't even been to the cathedral yet. And so, you know, as I got toward the end of my career, I really began to realize how blessed that I had been.
Wow.
And at the same time, even coming to an end, you know, when it ended, I just realized how lucky I was to have held that position for so long, you know, and the people that I was able to meet along the way.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if I've been to 88 countries, I got at least 88 friends.
Wow. Yeah. I believe it too.
You know, so
yeah,
it's a beautiful thing to be able to connect with people, to be able to see the world and form your own opinions. And a lot of the talks that I get, whether it's high school, whether it's a commencement speech, I say, get a passport, travel the world, form your own opinions. The world is not a bad place. Please, if you don't do anything in this world, please give yourself a chance to form your own opinions. Go see the world.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, it's like, it's not as expensive to travel the world as you think it may be. I have friends who will spend money, like spend more on a night out than the plane ticket would be to get across the pond. And it's like, buy the ticket. That ticket is going to be way more lucrative in terms of the experience than that night out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, get that passport and travel, please.
See the world.
Yes. So, like, toward the end of that career, you're player coach at this point. So, like, you're not doing the tricks or you may be doing some of the tricks and things, but like you're knowing the time is coming, right? Father Time is unbeat. And so, what was that like, knowing that you're going to transition from, you know, one of the most historic basketball team, if not the most historic basketball teams in the world, to becoming civilian, or what was that like?
Well, the player coach aspect of it, I was actually still playing.
Okay.
So you had the option. Some games I may be in a suit. Some games I may be, if somebody goes down for an injury, I may go out there and play. So I'm still out there, you know, doing my thing. But it was just really, it was cool to be a leader of men. Like, really, like, you are leading the opposition team and you're leading the Globetrotters. You're like in charge of the entire, you know, tour. And so for me, I was, slowly transitioning to potentially being full-time,
Yeah.
coach in the suit full-time. And it ended not the way that I expected to end, which was tough, because I wasn't really prepared. I had put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, but again, at the same time, I realized, like, man, how can I be so sad? There's going to be someone else that come behind me and have the same experiences that I have had.
Wow. Yeah.
I've held this position for 18 years. Now there's going to be another young man, that gets to travel to 50, 60 countries, form their opinions of the world. And, again, that transition part wasn't easy. For the first time in my life, when it ended, I probably went to counseling, to talk about it, which is something that was frowned upon in my community growing up. If you go to counseling, you crazy.
Crazy. That's for white people.
What's wrong with him?
Like
what
that's
do you
what I
need?
heard.
What do you need counseling for? But that's the vulnerability part of it. And, for me being able to do that. And even now, 2025 has been 8 years since I last played. Now I still, go to counseling to talk about certain things. It's important to be able to face some of those demons, and the things that I learned, I'm able to share with other people. I've learned to become more vulnerable, learn to realize that people can benefit from me more by hearing about some of the tough situations that I've been through than the highlight reel that we speak of on, Instagram and Facebook and all the social media platforms.
What was some of the most insightful things that you learned about yourself in therapy?
Really just taking accountability that, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. And so, I can't really expect another person to be perfect, be responsible for my own actions. I can't blame other people for certain things that happen to me. Ultimately, I make the decision the same way that I made decisions to become a Globetrotter, the same, ways that I made decisions to, go to college, the same way I made the decision to come here and talk to you today. Whatever happens, in between that or after that, that's the decision that I made, and the results I have to be accountable for, the good and the bad.
Yeah, I love that. Like, one, perfection does not exist. Like understanding that it does not exist in ourselves, to not try to achieve perfection, because we're gonna be let down every single time. It's like the progress toward perfection. Yeah, let's progress. Let's keep going. But when you hold yourself to that standard, you're always going to come up short. You're always going to carry a sense of shame that I am not enough.
Right.
Like, and that was part of my talk at TEDx, was like, that's a message that we get from all these different, outlets, is just like, be better, look a little better, stand a little better. Like everything is about be better, have a better car, have a better house, a better spouse, a better everything. And it's like, no, like you're enough just as you are. And I love like the accountability piece. I think I talked about this recently, is like one of the things that I learned is like I played a role in every situation in my life, right? And it is putting myself in the story and recognizing whether it was on the receiving end of some bad stuff, on the giving end of it, or just a neutral party of it, like I was still playing a role. And just to put myself in those stories and hold myself accountable for, is my role in alignment with my values? Do I know what my values are? Am I living in alignment with those, or were they not? And I thought that's something that I think has been really helpful for me in my therapy journey, is just recognizing that role that I played. So that's good. It's good to hear you've been in therapy too, because I think, like you said, like in our communities, it's like, nah, like you crazy if you go into therapy. Right.
And maybe I am a little bit crazy. Maybe.
Hey, who's defining crazy? And what is it? Like, is it playing for the Harlem Globetrotters for 18 years? Is it being on The Amazing Race? How many times?
3 times.
3 times?
Yeah.
3 times. Tell me about that.
3-time loser, I like to tell people. No, but I mean, that was one of the great experiences of my life, and it was an opportunity to represent my family, the brand. I mean, that's a big stage. That's a big organization that's been around at that point. I think it was 85 years. Wow. And to be trusted, to represent the brand on such a stage, represent your teammates, it was amazing. I mean, it was as amazing as the race itself, but I mean, it was stressful too. You going on a national television as a Globetrotter. I often tell people, I was undefeated, but I'm going on Amazing Race. It's not the Washington Generals that I'm playing against. These are people going for $1 million, but just being able to, again, develop relationships, to go on that show and audition just like everyone else that first time, come in 4th place, but then 2 years later get a phone call saying, hey, you guys want to do it again? America loves you.
Wow.
You know, that's a testimonial to how you carried yourself, the way that you represented your family, friends, organization, and families that would sit in front of that television each and every week and watch and say, hey, that's the way you win. That's the way you lose with dignity. That's the way you work together, you know. And then the third time, you know, they call again. And the fourth time, we don't do it the fourth time, but they call us again. But, you know, just having an opportunity to, again, be around people who don't necessarily look like you, think like you, and compete, you know, in a way that's professional and still have upstanding character, good character, you know, while competing. I mean, competition can get ugly sometimes.
Yeah, that dog came out. That dog can come out. What was the most challenging part of the Amazing Race for you?
For me, probably the most challenging part, I'd say the first time that we left, it was really just giving up your phones and your giving up that.
So the whole time?
Yeah, all you have is a backpack. You know, there was no phone, there was none of your money. It's zero, no communication with any of your family for like that month that you're actually out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it ain't just for the TV. It's just like you really out there.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I mean you out there with your partner. You have a sound guy and a camera guy, and they're pretty much with you while you're running. You know, running the race. But I mean, it's grueling. I mean, there's nights when you're sleeping outside. There's sometimes you don't have enough money to buy food. So I mean, it's what you see on TV. But I mean, at the same time, the way that I grew up, hey, there were some times when I didn't have the right amount of food that I feel like I needed to eat. But you know, just having that experience, there's a lot of people that sign up for the experience, being able to actually have an opportunity to develop a relationship with the creator of the show, Bertram, you know, Van Munster. I mean, he became really cool with Big Easy and I, and just to be in that Hollywood space. You know, I'm just a little kid from Brinkley, Arkansas, population, you know, 3,500 people, and here I am, you know, running around the world on the Amazing Race, and these people in my town are living vicariously through me, rooting for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I've taken them on a journey.
Wow. Do you get to go back to Arkansas ever?
Oh yeah, I was there actually this summer. I was there for about 6 months.
Okay.
I had before you met me, and I'll share this with you, I had a pretty crazy couple of things that happened to me before you met me. So my stepfather got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And my mother, she asked me if I would come back and, you know, kind of help out. My stepfather's a fish farmer, so help out around the fish farm and also, you know, help with the driving back and forth to the treatments. And so, you know, I'm telling my wife, yeah, I'm going to go back and help. I'm in California. And on the way back to Arkansas from California, I load up my truck, my dog. We're headed back to Arkansas. We're going to take care of, you know, my stepfather for as long as his radiation and all that takes, and cross over into Arizona and lose control of my truck, and it flipped over. Wow. My truck flipped over. All of my belongings, a good amount of my belongings in it, the speaker that I use to speak with, my heat press machine that I make my T-shirts with, my dog is in there. Next thing I know, I see like people all around me. They throw me in the ambulance. They airlift me to a local hospital, and I'm like, you know, what just happened? I'm out of the hospital within 3 hours because I'm like, hey, I'm good. Y'all ain't keeping me in here, you know. But
you got places to be.
Right. So, I mean, at that point, I had to pivot, try to figure out how I'm going to get to Arkansas. So I get a hotel. I'm waiting for my dog. They took my dog to a shelter. My dog, they send me pictures of him, and they were bringing him back to me 2 days after the accident. On the way to them bringing him back to me, he died. So when he get to the hotel where I'm at, the guy's like, you know, Hurley, he died, you know?
Oh,
and
my goodness.
For me, I was going through a phase to where I wasn't really communicating. I didn't tell my wife that I had this accident. I didn't even tell my mom, and she knew that I was coming home because I didn't want to burden anybody with what I was going through, you know? And so I just remember going home finally, you know, without my dog. And yeah, so I mean, I drove back and forth. I helped them out, and I was there for probably 3 weeks before I even really told anybody, before I even showed my parents the pictures, because I didn't want to, you know, burden anybody with what happened, you know, to me. But it was crazy. I learned a lot from it. I'm glad that I was able to go and, you know, help my stepfather. He's doing well now. He's,
Good.
you know, still surviving from it.
Wow, good.
But yeah, I mean, there's things that happen. I could have died for sure.
Yeah.
But I learned from it, and my mom said, you know, it's just a part of your journey. It's what you get to share with people. You know, even through that time when I was there, those first 3 weeks, I'm around town, I'm riding my bike, I'm playing basketball as if nothing had even happened. I guess I was in, you know, a bit of a stage of denial, but I wanted to show people eventually how strong I was. And that was a part of, you know, when I told you this year I'll be more vulnerable, that's the things that I've been through.
Yeah.
You know, that was a tough time. I didn't talk to a lot of people
Wow.
during that time. I could have lost my life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realized that I'm here for a reason.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
God kept me around for a reason, and that's to be able to get on more stages, share with more people that are going through. Because, hey, I'm alive. You know,
Yes.
somebody died. There's somebody else going through something tougher than what I've been through. So what am I complaining about? I'm still here.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because that is a lot of stuff. Like back to back to back. And like to carry that by yourself for 3 weeks, for any amount of time, but for 3 weeks, is hard. It's hard to compartmentalize and then pretend like things are just what they are. And I can't imagine what that time was like for you. And I'm blessed that you're still here. I'm blessed that, you know, that it is a part of the journey. And it's a story. There's lessons there, and you get to apply those lessons now. But man, like I can't imagine having to go through so much in that short amount of time. So like, damn.
I met you two months after that. And in between that time also, my grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
I injured my knee. My wife and I weren't talking to each other.
Oh man.
You know, and I wasn't telling people that. I just, you know,
So this
tried
is
to.
wait, it's an elephant sitting
Oh
on
yeah.
your chest.
Oh yeah. There was so much stuff happened to me last year that I could share with people. They wouldn't believe. I say that my life is a movie.
And that smile don't fall, like it ain't fell off your face.
Nobody knew.
Man, where do you think that comes from? The hiding it? Is it hiding the emotion, suppressing the emotion? Are you feeling the emotion? Like where does that come from?
I think it's for me because one of the things that I was thinking as I returned back home, I just kind of sat around. I just listened to like people in my family or just pay attention to what's going on in the world and just listen to people complain, you know? And for me, I just wanted to show that you don't even know what just happened to me. I'm not going to complain. This is not worth complaining.
Yeah.
Like I would literally just sit back for that 3 weeks and listen to, you know, my sisters or whatever, like, that ain't even worth complaining about.
You
This
said
is a
that's the
blessing to
kiddie
be
pool.
here.
You in the ocean, huh?
Right. So, I mean, I guess I just wanted to, in silence, show resilience and then eventually come out and show this is what I've been through and this is what you can make it through too. If you think you're going to something, there's always going to be something tougher that's coming up. And how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to manage it?
Yeah.
You're going to complain? You're going to cry?
Yeah.
You know?
Looking back at that time, do you wish you had done anything differently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show more
There's-
vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a little bit more communicative with definitely my wife and my parents, but you know, things happen the way that they happen. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like in this life, I mean, I'm a big spiritual kind of person. I feel like I've been here before at times, and I feel like God's given me a chance to come back here and do things better than I did the first time around. And if He didn't take my life, you know, that time He still got work for me to do. He's got things. This happened to me because I get to share it with people.
Yeah.
You know, what are you really complaining about?
Right.
What are you really complaining about at the end of the day? There's always someone else that has it worse than you. You know, show some resilience, show some gratitude, and keep moving forward. But be vulnerable.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I opened my book talking about trauma and how most of us are impacted by trauma at some point in our lives, and how, like, no matter the magnitude or severity of that trauma, that it ought not be minimized because of we have the ability to take the perception of like that person is worse off and this person's worse off, but in our bodies and in our minds and what our brain is doing, it's feeling the worst experience. Like if it's my worst day, my body's not going to say, well, at least somebody else is having a worse day than me. But like, no, it's in my body and it's my worst day. And so our nervous system responds in that way. And that trauma then impacts us and leads to toxic stress and, you know, a host of other diseases. And I think that's why it's so important to get it out of you.
Yeah.
Right. Because like, yes, like we know when we look at the grand scheme of things, like we are blessed, like all of this here, and like just to be able to get paid to talk
Yeah.
is a blessing. And like, so like we are truly blessed, and the in the grand scheme of things, like we go through hard times, and it is not as bad as some people will have it, but not to minimize it for yourself when it is your dark time, because you only know your darkest time. Like it's not in relative to anybody else's, because I can't see behind your eyes, I can't
Right.
be in your brain. And so I love that you found the power to be vulnerable. Like you just shared some real vulnerable stuff. How does that feel in your body and like on your heart right now?
Well, it feels good. I mean, even so, when I wrote my book, Projects, Posts, and Presidents, it was after my career had ended. And for me to sit down and reflect, because it's kind of a journey of my life growing up in Brinkley, Arkansas, to shaking President Bill Clinton's hand when he was a governor at that time. He became president, meeting President Obama twice at the White House, spinning the basketball on Pope Francis' finger, all these things that had happened throughout my life. That's what it was. I was able to, kind of reflect. It was kind of like therapy right there, because I've taken all these notes, like everything that's happened to me as far back as I can remember. That's how I started that book. And that book has allowed me to get on, different stages since I published it in 2018. And, now I'm in a space now to where I'm thinking it's time for me to write another book. And I've already kind of got in my mind, I want to call it All the Money in the World after the game.
Okay. Yes.
After the game, like all the stuff that's happened to this, this point after that. There's been more ups and downs. There's been even tougher life lessons, that I've had to learn. There's my kids, that I've, had to have relationships and build with them from a distance over this time. There's the accidents, there's the marriage, there's a lot that has happened, and a lot of people have no idea what I've been through because, again, like I said, I've only showed that highlight reel, but my promise this year was to be more vulnerable and share that my life has not been perfect. I've been through a lot, and I get to go through a lot, and I'm going to continue to go through a lot, but I'm not going to quit.
Yes.
I get to keep going. I get to keep sharing, and there'll be a lot of people that have been inspired as a result of it because I've seen it. I've seen
So
the power.
true.
I've seen the impact that I'm able to have, and if you give me a glimpse of it, that's all the gas I need to keep on going.
Oh, I cannot wait. I want to read that book right now. So I'm waiting on that one. So yes, you got some sales with me already. I can't wait. How do you balance all that? So like as the pro athlete, as the personality that you are, as the husband, as the father, all these different parts, as a man who's showing up and showing strength and kindness and happiness to the world, how do you balance all that for yourself?
I think it's just always showing gratitude, remembering where I came from, the things I've already seen. And I mean, in my life, everything as a kid that I really imagined would happen actually happened. Everything that I imagined happened during my Globetrotter career happened. Everything that I imagined would happen after my Globetrotter career has happened, from not making as much money as I thought and how people responded to me when I had to start saying no, like it's happened, Like, who's going to be there for me when I need somebody? And there was times when there haven't been anybody there. My wife has been there.
Yeah.
My mom has been there. But some of those same people that, kind of had their hand out during that time, they weren't there, and I imagined that.
Yeah.
But also right now, as I'm going through this phase of my life, I see myself on the big stages. I see myself making a huge impact, even bigger than the impact I made when I was traveling to those 88 countries around the world.
Yeah.
I see myself going back to those places and making them understand, and giving them thanks for the way that they treated me while I was there,
That's dope.
I see myself going back and just letting the world know that the world is a good place and there are people that actually care about you.
Yeah. I love that. Like you said, you see.
I see it.
Visualization. Like I just learned this recently, but like they did a study on basketball, like free throw shooters. And they took a team of free throw shooters and they separated them into three groups. One group, they were they actually practiced shooting free throws. The other group just visualized shooting free throws. And then the last group didn't practice at all, didn't visualize. And what they saw was that the group that actually practiced increased their free throw percentage by 24%. The group that just visualized increased their free throw percentage by 23%. And then there wasn't any increase in those who didn't practice. And so like the visualization turns into reality. Like it really creates the reality that we want to see in the world. And so for you to be able to visualize that as a kid in Arkansas to the person that you are now, keep visualizing, keep seeing it, keep seeing the beautiful future, keep seeing the beautiful life that you are destined to live. Like that's amazing. Dang, that's so cool.
It's kind of like, as a speaker, those first times that you get on that stage, you're nervous. You're
Yeah.
like, and that was the case for me. And I even shared with my wife, like even recently as yesterday, I'm like, man, this is getting easier for me. I'm needing more time. Like when you tell me about this experience that you had with Eric Thomas and those guys, they gave you 10 minutes. I'm like, Reggie needs more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm on that stage yesterday speaking here at Hume Fogg here in Nashville. And before I know it, 30 minutes has passed.
Quick.
And I'm like, what
Quick.
happened to the time? I remember when I used to
In school,
be afraid to
2
be on
minutes used to be like
forever.
an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is getting easier. The
Yeah.
same way that, I became a Globetrotter. It's gotten easier for me to spin the basketball on my finger. It's gotten easier for me to spin that ball around my body. It's getting easier for me to share my message with people. And I've heard you speak too, so I know that you can relate that it's getting easier. We need more time. We need more time to share.
reps.
We're getting more life experiences, and these experiences that we have and that we continue to have.
Yeah.
There's value in them.
Shout out like the topics that you speak on. Kindness is free, and where do you speak, and who can you speak for? Where does your message resonate? Speak to the audience on that.
For me, my message really is kindness is free. And oftentimes I talk about the keys to kindness. The key is a unique object that's typically used to open up doors, start engines. And for me, when I'm sharing with organizations, I talk about leadership. I talk about the art of connectedness. But when it comes to being a key, I can get in any door. Mm-hmm. And as a young person, I let them know that you are developing right now as the key. The way that you show up for people right now will determine the doors that you're able to walk into. The way that I'm able to walk into these elementary schools, the way that I'm able to walk into these businesses, the way that I was able to walk into the White House twice.
Yeah.
The way that I was able to walk up, to the Pope at the Vatican. That's a door that's open because the person I've developed into. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that I'm perfect, but I've, rubbed some people the right way.
Yes.
So it's important that you realize that your body is a key.
Yes.
And the way that you continue to carve out, that's going to determine the doors that you're able to get into, the cars that you're able to drive, and the people that you're willing to impact and able to impact.
Yes. It's just like what you exude in the world. Like the law of attraction is real. If you don't know what the law of attraction is, I just look it up because we could be here for days talking about that. But it's real. And when you realize what you put out into the world, you receive in magnitude and multitude. You start to move a little different. You start to display kindness. You understand that gratitude is a law in itself, just showing gratitude and what that does to your mind. And so like you're a prime example of that and what it can do to a person's life. And so like there's no mistake that you are right here, that you are impacting the people in the world that you are. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be witness to part of the journey.
When you talk about that law of attraction, for me, I think my wife really kind of helped me with this law of attraction and spirituality and manifestation stuff. I remember about 3 months into our relationship, she said to me, I manifested you. And I'm like, manifested? What do you mean? She said, I saw you. I knew that you were going to be mine. And I'm like, okay, so that's what I've been doing all my life. I've been manifesting. And so once I realized, manifestation is like the visualization of something happening and it actually happening. So big shout out to her. Ever since she put that into me, I've been manifesting ever since. I manifested this meeting that we having right now,
Right.
I'm manifesting that we're going to be on stage together here pretty soon.
Hey, y'all hear that. That's
I'm manifesting that.
That's going to happen. Because
I follow you. I support you. I believe in you.
Likewise, brother.
Hey, no disrespect to a lot of these other TEDx speakers, but you're one of the best ones that I've heard. And more people need to hear your message.
I appreciate that, brother. For real. I got a couple of fill in the blank questions I want you to answer.
Okay.
And just, again, kind of similar to earlier, but the first thing that comes to mind. Vulnerability makes me feel blank.
Emotional.
Yeah. That's good. My greatest strength is blank.
My kindness.
Yeah, I had a feeling. If I could tell my younger self anything, and younger, however you want to define that, anything, it would be blank.
It's going to happen.
That manifestation, let's go. And when I'm looking for inspiration, I turn to
my mom.
I got a yes or no question. Yes or no? I am smarter than a fifth grader.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you come out as smarter than a fifth grader?
Yeah, so I mean, the cool thing about that was it was kind of a week long episode that they shot in about 5 hours. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we were raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That was myself and 4 of the teammates. And so I went last. They went first. They did a pretty good job on the last, episode with me and Mr. Foxworthy. I actually got all the questions right, and at the end, I decided not to go for the bonus question because I had raised the most amount of money combined, even more than
Wow.
they did, and I wanted to make sure that the Make-A-Wish Foundation,
money.
got the money. But I got all the questions right. I could have kept
Nice.
going. So
Nice.
I like to tell people I am smarter than a fifth grade, and all of my elementary school teachers should be proud.
Yes, they should be. Yes. Oh, I love that. Herb, how can people reach you if they want to hear you speak, if they want to get the book, if they want to follow you? How can they reach you?
So I have a website, IamHerbLang.com. I also have merchandise e-commerce store, which you can find on my website, IamHerbLang.com. But I'm pretty easy to connect with. Follow me on social media. I'm always trying to put something positive out there. Most recently, I have become a little bit more vulnerable in sharing some of the tough times that I've had and things that happened in my life, because I know that's reality, and I feel like people can relate to you more when they realize that you are human.
Yes.
And so anybody that wants to reach out to me, whether it's workshops, speaking events, elementary school, I got something for everybody.
Yes.
The Globetrotters say we entertain from 1 to 99. I got something for 1 to 99.
There it
We've
is.
all been through something.
Yes. And Herb and I are going to be together on those stages too. So if y'all want us together, you let us know. I think that it's going to happen. We're putting it out there in the universe, and the universe conspires to make what you visualize come true. So that's going to happen.
Hey, I seen it before I got here, so I'm going to be on stage with that boy.
Yeah. There it is, baby. Herb, with all the things you could be doing, all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram, and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.